Ready?
Yes.
Okay. It's time to meet the maker, and today I'm talking to Jane Galley of Loopy's Place. Hi, Jane. So come on, tell me all about your business, Loopy's Place. Why? When did you start? What's the story behind your name as well? Loopy's Place is quite an unusual thing. What was your inspiration to start your sewing and selling?
So being creative is a lifelong thing for me. On my website, it's got where creativity is a way of life, and it really started when I was a little girl, encouraged by my mum to try different things. And it's what I used to sort of get through the quiet evenings. Whenever there's been any problems, it was always the go-to thing. But probably about 12, 13 years ago, I needed to find something that I could earn some money from while being at home with my boys that were home educated. And somebody said, "You're always making things, so why don't you sell them?" So that's how it started. From a business point of view, started with a blog, and you know what it's like trying to think of a name. Really struggled with that. My mum used to call me Lou, so that was the start of it. Then I had some friends that used just to call me Loopy. And then for my blog, what I wanted it to be was a place where people felt comfortable to come in. I think the blog started off as Loopy Lou's journey or adventures into handicrafts, because I did so many different things. But then with the business and the Facebook page and a website, it became Loopy's Place. So same premise really. I wanted it to be somewhere comfortable where people felt comfortable to come in and have a chat. Business wise, it started from selling the products and then developed into actually doing the teaching.
So what kind of products?
So when I first started, it was everything. I sewed, it's crocheted. So it was a bit of an eclectic mix. But probably about 20 years ago, just over that, was just after my mum died, I got a machine to do quilting. It was something that I'd always wanted to do. Didn't quite work out then, but probably about 10 years ago, I got into quilting with a lot of help from fellow bloggers. Then it was mostly people in the US that did quilting.
Right.
So I jumped in at the deep end quite early. So what I try to do with the classes that I do now is to remember what I wasn't told at the beginning that I would have liked to have known, and share that, because if you've got those groundworks to build on, it does make it easier.
So do you teach more than you sell the products now?
Yes.
And is it mainly sewing and quilting that you're teaching?
Yeah. Quilts I still sell, memory quilts. I've just sort of come off the back of a good year for doing memory quilts.
So what's a memory quilt? Tell us what a memory quilt is.
So I've done 3 different types. So I think most people will either think of the memory quilts when somebody's died or when your little ones grow up. And I've done one each of those this year, or in the last year. I can come from it knowing what people feel from both angles, because having lost my mum, I know how precious those clothes are.
Yeah.
I know how difficult it is to give them up and let somebody cut into them.
Yes.
So I always make sure with somebody first that they are ready for me to do that. Get to know a lot about people. And that helps because I try to get a bit of the personality of the people that they're trying to remember into their quilts. So that is quite a special one. And I also then went from one like that to one that was remembering a child's first year. So lots of girls, so lots of pinks and reds, and so And one of the things that's come up is the quilts that I do are different. I don't just cut squares from fabric. I try and keep the character of the clothing in. So each quilt is very unique and special to the person that it's for. And then
The reason, I think, if I remember correctly, if I haven't seen one of yours from this year, or last year as it is now, as we're in January 2021, you tend to think of as quilts being, as you say, quite uniform and be the squares, but actually one of the ones you've done that's a memory quilt, there was no real uniformity to it at all, because you'd made sure that you'd featured the main parts of the pieces of clothing and the bits that were important. And if I remember correctly, there were pockets and there were all sorts that you'd included in there, which I think is lovely, because if you're not careful, if you just stick to the traditional square, you're going to lose so much of the value and the personal and actually the memory that associates with it.
Because a lot of the t-shirts came with pictures on, so if I'd cut them up, you'd have lost all that. So that's one of my favorites, I think, looking back, that I've done. And it included like ties as well. There was lots of hidden little treasures for people to find.
Like little Easter eggs, if you were watching a film or doing something, that's what they're called, isn't it? Easter eggs. It's like different bits. So
it had it said that every time they looked at it, they found something different. So that was quite special. And the other thing that I do, which not many people tend to do here, is using photos. I think moving into a digital age, photos can get lost because they're stuck on our phones, go onto the PC.
You don't print them out anymore. You don't see them. You scroll through.
So by using them for doing quilts and cushions, it gives those photos another life. So that's another form of memory quilt that I've done, which I enjoy doing.
That sounds lovely. So do you teach all of those as well as make all of those for people?
Yes. This year,
depends obviously where somebody is on their learning journey as to whether you don't kind of full in.
I have an online members club, so wherever you are at your journey, you can start with what's suitable for you. For the last 2 years, I've done a quilt along, so this has moved into the club this year, so there's lots of extra information going in. So there will be coming up a class for doing a memory quilt from using clothes. There's also one from doing a photo, and one of the classes that I've got coming this year will be doing a cushion using a photo. So that's all in the pipeline for this year.
Exciting times. That sounds amazing. Yes. That sounds lovely. So do you have a preference? Do you like teaching people and seeing them create their own finished product, or do you prefer creating it from start to scratch? From start to scratch, that didn't even make sense. Start to end. I'm glad you knew what I meant. Start to end, that you've created it, or does it not matter? Is it about having an amazing finished product, whoever's made it?
50-50. I do enjoy the teaching. I do enjoy being able to help somebody else. And I think one of the things that I concentrate on is building up confidence. A lot of people will look at something, I can't do that. And it brings me no end of satisfaction to see somebody who's never done anything before to having a class. I don't suppose Anne would mind me mentioning her. They'd never sewn before, went from helping her to buy a sewing machine, this is all online, helping her to buy her first sewing machine, to now her having made 13 quilts for herself and her family.
Wow. Yeah, I know you've taught me as well, but not to the extent I haven't flown with it as much as Anne has. But yeah, it's amazing, and you have such a patience, and it doesn't matter how much someone's stuck, you're there just to go, right, okay, let's figure this out. And even though it's online, it still really does work really, really well.
I think being online, it does help as well, because I've got one club member who her making time like yours is limited, and she'll probably at a weekend, but then she'll send me a message by messenger. So we've talked through things, but that helps me as well, because then I can know what I can come into the studio and do a video to help to explain it, to make it clearer. So that's what I enjoyed, that backwards and forwards. And she's set me off on actually doing another course this year, like a confidence builder for quilting. So like you with your members club, we inspire you for what you do, and
Yeah.
vice versa. And that's what I find is those conversations will lead on to things that I can use sort of within here, and the videos that we build up from it.
So you've just mentioned studio. Is that where you work from? Have you got a specific studio, or are you at home, or where do you do your work from?
All the videoing and sewing tends to happen here in the studio. So I have a physical studio, proud owner or renter for the last year.
So if we weren't in COVID times, because we're recording this early January 2021, if we weren't in COVID times, would it be a place where actually you do in-person classes as well?
Yes, January 2020, that was the plan for during the year, was to get a regular sort of session for people to come in and have a chat and do some crafting, and for classes to happen here. I can't say that COVID ruined all my plans, because it just helped me get better at doing the online ones, and being able to do live classes via Zoom has been something that's come out of it, which will carry on.
Yeah.
And now I've made it my space. It's going to get difficult inviting people in, but I
was just thinking exactly that. It's going to be, this is my space now. You've claimed it all rather than having areas for other people to come into.
Yeah, it has changed, because when it was first set up, it was specifically set up to make it easy for having people in to do lessons. And I think this year it's helped me realize that I think going forward, I would like to do more personal, like one-to-one sessions, or with very low numbers, to give that one-to-one help that people want. I think that's where my heart lies. Keep the bigger numbers for online. It's been an interesting year. This is
to say the least.
Yeah, so this is my home. I tend to do my computer stuff at home, but this is where I come to relax and work, but it doesn't feel like work. So
it really is Loopy's place there.
It is. You come in the door and it's like, leave all the problems outside and just come in and have fun.
So where online do you sell? Where can people find you? Where's the best place?
I've got the website, so www.loopysplace.co.uk. So particularly for the quilts and the sort of bespoke stuff, that's probably the best place to get me. That's where the online membership is.
So if you've got both the products and the online sewing classes, all of that's all on the same website?
Products tend to be on Etsy. Products, I'm not very good at getting rid of the products. Because to record the classes, I actually make the things.
Yeah.
So the idea was that it would go to Etsy and sell on Etsy. But now I've got wall space to fill up, and it's quite nice to have different samples on the wall. I do have a box up there which may find its way to Etsy eventually. But the digital downloads are on Etsy as well. And also found quite successful is craftcourses.com. So I've got classes and kits on there. But yes, particularly for like the quilts, and dare I say wall covers, you come to the website or on Facebook.
Your website sounds like it's the hub.
It is.
Right. So here's my big question. And this is the one that comes from I suppose my heart really. But makers tend to go into business to make for the love of their craft and because they want to spend their time being creative. But actually, one of the big jobs you have to do is marketing. Do you love it or hate it? You can be honest. It's fine.
It is one of the hardest things to do. And it was a big eye-opener this year. I ended up working from home through lockdown. And that really sort of made me sort of decide what I wanted to do. And to do what I want to do, it means it's marketing. And the sudden realization was that I will probably have to spend more than 50% of my time with the marketing and everything else that goes with it, rather than on the making. So that has been one of the hardest things to realize. And I think it's something that you've been trying to tell us for years and years. But
if you're not showing up and you're not being visible, then you become the world's best kept secret, and that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help your customers, who you can help and you can serve and you can teach, and who want the beautiful quilts and memory quilts from you, that if they can't find you, they can't buy from you, and it doesn't help you make money from your business either. So yeah, you have to nail it, love it or hate it. You have to nail it. You have to find a way that works for you.
So it was quite a struggle going back to my other job because it was really beginning to pay off sort of back in the summer last year. And it does get to a stage where, because you're doing so much of it and because it's planned and that you've got a reason for doing it, you know where you're going. It's like, was it like with boxes, isn't it? You're hitting the target, you're not sort of punching the air, as it were, and sort of wasting energy. Having that there makes it easier. So in the end, it becomes more enjoyable. It's not so much the chore that it is.
It's finding that balance with the things that you like doing, with the things that are effective, which then you can just find a way to ease in that kind of complements what you do, rather than being a work. It takes time to get there. So marketing isn't going to be your answer to this next question, but what is it you love most about running your own business? I know it won't be marketing.
It's freedom, I suppose. It's what makes me happy. I did think of giving it up last year because of the pressures of health and working. But I've come to a realization that to be healthy and to do is you need to be doing something that you love. So that's where the focus has gone. So yes, this might be work, but it keeps me mentally healthy, which helps cope with everything else.
So what's the biggest challenges you faced as a business owner?
Myself.
What do you mean by that? Give us some more.
It's, I think, beating your own demons, sort of being positive, not allowing the negative to bring you down. I think one of your courses that you did, I mean, I don't do it and I should do it more often. I did start doing it at one stage where you write down all the good feedback that you get, like the different comments that people will post that get lost everywhere, to make a note of them so that when you were having a bad day, you could look back at them to see what you've achieved.
I think that's going right back to Make Your Way to Success, that one. But yeah, it's a good one to do. Have your own book that you can just, and notebooks you can go, because we all have the bad days, you all have the tough days, you all get the awkward customers, and the customers are just, maybe their expectations were different to what was going on or whatever it might be, but you get those things that knock you down. But we let those knock us down more than we let the good stuff build us up if we're not careful. So yeah, having
I think the other thing is I'm naturally quiet and retiring. So putting yourself out there has probably been the hardest thing. And in certain ways it still is, but give me a video and it doesn't bother me at all now.
I may have encouraged you to do that one quite a while ago, but you have run with it and you have rolled with it. But it's testament to the fact that you don't have to be loud, you don't have to be an amazingly extrovert, you don't have to be all this big crazy character on camera for it to work for you in your business. It's about letting your personality come through and the person that you are, so people can have the chance to get to know, like, and trust you. And that's the brilliant part of doing things on video. And I think, particularly from a teaching point of view, having being a student of yours, is that that quietness is actually patience. It's actually understanding. There's no pressure. There's no, why haven't I got this? Really, you don't feel any of that from you. So from a perspective of being a teacher, it's the perfect quality on camera.
And I do love the community that is built up around my page. I think they are really lovely. And it's been able to get to know people, whether it's people that I've made for or teach, being able to get to know them and be able to help them in whatever way it might be.
Oh, fantastic. It is. It's all about the people that you build up around you. And I think you can bring in the right people for you in your business that come in and come together. And then when that happens, it's just magic, because it stops being work. It starts being an enjoyment and something you love and enjoy doing. Yeah. Okay, last question. You can breathe a sigh of relief now. So on to the last question. If you could share one tip for someone who's starting out, thinking of having their own handmade business, whether it was sewing and products or whether it's teaching, what would the tip be?
Not to expect it to all happen at once. I think one of the first things that somebody said to me was something that you say a lot is people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that doesn't happen overnight. So if you want people to come and speak to you, like a lot of us will use Facebook. If you want people to come and speak to you, you've got to go and speak to them as well. So building up that relationship with people.
Yeah. And it takes the consistency of showing up and doing something, which I know is often easier said than done. I'm not always the best at being consistent myself, even though I know it works. But that getting out there and showing up in a way that works for you. And I know that, say, video works really, really well for you, that you can connect with people and that people get to actually know you, like you, and trust you, which is what it's all about. Thank you so much, Jane. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And that's it for this one. I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Bye.
Bye.